Ladies and gentlemen, this is You'll Never Talk Alone, a podcast dedicated to the 6-time European champions, Liverpool Football Club.
The champions!
Let's all join together for a rising chorus of the Champions League theme song. The champions! That was abysmal. It's so bad.
Isn't that the same thing that plays in 2001: A Space Odyssey?
Right as the weird galactic baby appears.
Yeah.
We have the entire crew here tonight. We got Alex Lovell, we got Andrew Ainsworth, we got Will Cage, we got Zach Osborne, and I'm your friend Joseph Craven. And we are still ecstatic over what transpired in Madrid. Holy crap. I want us all to run down the line and just give just a one-sentence declaration. It can be vulgar, and we'll censor it later on. This is your chance to go ahead and get the ball rolling on that and making my life even more miserable. Just run down the line, one sentence. Alex, give me a reaction to this game. Go.
Let's talk about 6, baby.
Never have we had a more natural episode title than that. Andrew, hit me with it.
I like running.
Will.
Big Divock.
Zach, finish off strong here. Would you like to give the context for that, Zach? Because I feel like we're going to hear it over and over again this episode, and I'm perfectly fine with it.
I was watching the highlight over and over again on my TV and spontaneously breaking out into the Divock Origi chant while my 2-year-old daughter was watching on, and she learned the chant surprisingly easily, and now is just running around the house saying Divock Origi constantly. And it is amazing and very cute.
It's quite adorable. Quite adorable. Here we are standing on the other end of what was like this strange blend of really stressful, unnerving, but also kind of like inevitable. Like we kind of were going into it thinking, all right, this is Tottenham. We know how to beat Tottenham. We should beat Tottenham. There's really no reason we would ever lose to Tottenham. It's also a Champions League final, and you never know what's about to happen. It was this weird blend of it, but we make it through, not in no small part due to a penalty call 30 seconds in. I jokingly said as we were watching the match together at a restaurant, me and Will and Zach and several other people that gathered together in Central Mississippi, I jokingly said that if we didn't score 30 seconds in, I was going to leave. And then we got a penalty call 30 seconds in. I said, okay, well, I guess I'll stick around. All right, there we go. So that being said, there's a lot that went well. There's a lot that was weird in the match. Let's start off with that penalty call first and foremost. Alex, how much did that penalty rattle Spurs and change the tone of the match very early on?
It changed everything. I mean, it completely shook them to their core. I mean, we kind of had a similar emotional feeling before the final last year of like, oh my gosh, we're here. We made it. Like making the final was essentially winning the final. You could tell they were so fired up. They'd gotten there early. I think they got there Thursday, and there had been a lot of talks about getting there too early and getting too swept up in the occasion. And I think as soon as that happens, it just deflates everything you've built and plays on the negative aspects of doing that almost immediately. And it completely changed the game. I mean, it could not have been worse for them. And that makes me so very happy. Like if you had asked Poch before the game, what's the worst thing that could happen inside the first minute? And he's like, conceding a goal. And what did they do? They essentially conceded a goal in the first minute. So from then on, we knew we were in control. We knew we were the better team already, and that just reinforced it. And in games like this, especially against teams from the same league, knowing that you're the better team helps so much. And it just played out that way.
I would have thought if you had asked Poch beforehand what the worst case scenario was, he would have been like, oh man, like if I forgot to pack anything other than an all black outfit and had to wear that. Oh no. He did it anyway. After that, what followed were, gosh, it was like what, 85 minutes between goals, something like that.
Mhm.
I don't know. It was back and forth. There were several moments in the match that were, a little bit scary. I distinctly remember Will in particular kept yelling, "Nope," or "Can we not?" every time that Tottenham got the ball near our goal. That was his go-to exclamation.
That's
It cracked
just
me up.
at 6:30 a.m. on any random Saturday from August to May. I just yelled "Nope" and "Can we not?" repeatedly. Especially the past few years before this year. Luckily, we have Allison Becker, the best goalkeeper in the world, and it didn't matter.
Yep. We'll get to Allison soon enough. Let's talk though a little bit about those. I guess we could talk a little bit about him right now, Andrew. I want to prompt you on this. Even in light of those, semi-scary moments at times, and whatever else was a little bit unnerving. What was the difference between the two teams? Because you look at the statistics, and Tottenham's winning in possession and in shots on goal, all that sort of stuff. Let's talk about the difference between the two teams and our ability to stop them from scoring.
I think the big difference there is they just didn't have that killer instinct. The first half, they didn't even have a shot on goal.
Right.
They weren't really taking great chances. They had a couple good chances here and there. I don't know if I should go into them, but one particularly was Son and Van Dijk, where Van Dijk just turns on the Jets and takes the ball away. Any other
outstanding.
Any other team, you don't have a center back that can do that. It might happen, but Van Dijk, you just know every single time he's near the ball, he's going to get it away. So that's huge. And also, kind of want to go back to the penalty. How comical is that Mane was just like, oh yeah, sticking his arm out, let's kick the ball at it. Like he wasn't going for anyone. He was like, yeah, that arm's out, I'm just going to smack the ball at it, and we're going to get a penalty 30 seconds in.
That was it. He saw the man flailing and went, all right, this is going to happen. And it's just heads up. It's just a heads up moment for Mane. I love it. I think you're right. There were the shots on goal and save statistics for Tottenham and for Alisson Becker, a little skewed by the fact that a lot of Tottenham's shot attempts were fairly weak, like outside the box attempts. There were a handful of those that kind of added to it. There were some that were a little bit more terrifying, but you have a goalkeeper, you spend money on a goalkeeper like that for a reason. That's a championship winning purchase, bringing in Alisson Becker. There's no way to
That's the move that we made after the final last year. We had issues with the keeper. We bought a new keeper, and look what happened.
It was a very obvious problem solution situation, which you don't see that often in sports, which is really cool. All right, let's talk about the importance of, and you notice I'm, of course, sticking in alphabetical order, as we tend to do on the podcast, and I've reached Will Caves at this point. So I think we already know that I'm going to ask Will about Jordan Henderson. Let's talk about Jordan Henderson, the captain, in light of everything he's been through the past couple of seasons, the nagging injuries, the moments in which he couldn't play, the moments in which he was benched because he needed to regain form, and then he found form again. All of that. We'll talk about the significance of the captain leading the team to victory.
What a man. What a captain. He really, since the initial heel injury that he got, 3 years ago, maybe, he hasn't, until the tail end of the season, hasn't really been the same player. I know there's an argument to be made. He played the 6, he was out of position, yada, yada, whatever. He just hasn't looked the same. And he's slowly been growing back to it. But I think, and I've said this before, the Southampton game, that goal, really turned the corner for him this season specifically. He has been monumental since Christmas for sure, but since that Southampton game in particular. And it was just so cool, and such a big middle finger to everybody who doubted us as a team, but also him as a person over the past few years, to see him lift that trophy and prop his feet on it on the plane. What a picture. Oh, it's so great.
It's just satisfying to see the storyline go the way that it did. And like, I won't ever shy away from the fact that, I've been quite critical of him in the past during those moments in which he was playing out of position and he was playing roles that were not nearly as natural for him. I'll, go back to the comical, comment that Jurgen Klopp made about how he's just kind of like, yeah, I was playing him out of position. That one's on me, whoops. That sort of thing. We saw the impact that he brought obviously as a captain, it's always been there, but we've seen the impact that he brought as a player as well on this successful run. And it just is, it's just satisfying to see him, that picture on the plane, propping his feet up on the cup. Like this was supposed to happen. This was meant to be. It's so beautiful.
So cool.
So beautiful. Zach, there have been a lot of comments from different members of the media, and you specifically mentioned this in the text thread earlier, so I'm curious to hear your thoughts. There's been some comments about it being some people have said like what was the out of proportion comment, the worst final ever or something like that.
It's a worst final in the past decade.
Yeah, that sort of thing. It was, you have an early goal and then a super late goal and not a whole lot like of excitement in between. And so there, it was at times kind of a rough match to watch. But you feel very strongly that doesn't, diminish anything that was, that occurred, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think this is just a clear indication and just reinforcing our knowledge that soccer media outside of the city of Liverpool has a strong anti-Liverpool bias. And I don't think that's me being paranoid or alarmist. I think that if that match yesterday was won in the same manner by a Real Madrid or by Juventus or even by a Manchester United, the entire football media is hailing the genius of playing a cautious, controlled game, managing the game over the course of 90 minutes, scoring the goals in crucial moments and knowing when to sort of let off the gas and just play it safe for the rest of the match. That's the narrative that would be presented if it was one of those other clubs. But because it's Liverpool, we've got people sitting behind a desk and outside the freaking stadium looking into the camera saying this is the worst final of the past decade. And then thank God for Steve Nicol, who looks over at the other guy like he's a freaking moron and says, who cares? We certainly don't. And the Tottenham fans don't either. That is not the narrative that anyone cares about. It pissed me off, to be honest, and I keep hearing it. It was a crap game. It was no good. It was boring. I don't care. We won it 6 times and you didn't, so shut your damn mouth.
Do you think that there's like a bitterness or resentment from people that wanted it to be like a more exciting game solely because it was Liverpool who was listed there, one of the most exciting teams to watch, one of the best offensive teams in Europe? We had just had this amazing semifinal, both legs or both sides of it. Amazing semifinals, Tottenham with a massive comeback, Liverpool with a massive comeback. Do you think there's just resentment that like it wasn't a 4-3 scoreline?
Yeah.
it wasn't a sexy game.
It wasn't. And I will concede that if you're a neutral watching that match, you're not as entertained as you thought you might be by a Liverpool-Tottenham Champions League final. But still, I don't think that that's the correct narrative after the match is complete to be saying it, because everyone I heard making that point was using it to possibly diminish in some sort of way the accomplishment of what Liverpool just achieved. Yeah. If you want to say, look, they won the cup, it's incredible, they deserve all the praise because they got it done, but also this was kind of a boring match, let's be honest, that's one thing. But that's not really what I've heard. I've heard it presented almost in such a way as like, Liverpool won it 6 times with an asterisk because this one was really boring and a crap game. And I just think that is total bull. and I won't entertain it for even a second.
Yeah, I think a lot of people discredit the fact that it was very much by design that it didn't work out well. Like if you concede the fact that Klopp and Pochettino are both incredible managers and that they had 3 weeks to prepare for this match, of course they're going to get to know each other inside and out. And it wasn't good because they countered each other. I mean, it was very obvious that both coaches came to the conclusion that the other team's going to press really high. We need to go long. And that happened a lot. And then that didn't really work. And then they were pressuring our fullbacks because I know we come through our fullbacks so much. So we were forced into quick passes. And like after we scored so early, it was very much, here, you have the ball, you do something with it because you think you're so good and we'll control the whole field. So we let them have the ball, that we controlled the space on the field, and they didn't do anything with what we gave them, what little bit we gave them. So it's a classic game between two top sides. How many times has this happened in the Premier League where top 6 teams play each other and it's not a huge spectacle because they're so tactically organized and trying to cancel each other out? But we just did it so well that it looked really bad. And granted, again, 3 weeks, people were not as sharp as they could have been. So that's a whole nother thing. And it wasn't because both teams are bad. It was because both teams are so good that they made each other look bad.
I just want to say, Alex, that after Virgil van Dijk and Joel Matip, the most formidable duo in world football is my uncontrolled emotional outbursts and your like measured and thoughtful tactical analysis.
I agree. And for the listeners, we just Bash Bro chest bumped over Hangouts. I said for the listeners, like there's anybody actually watching this. There's no one watching this. There's only listeners.
We're gonna power through the squeaky dog toy that has just invaded the podcast here. We've mentioned a lot of names. Obviously, the ones that stand out in Virgil van Dijk, that stand out in Alisson Becker, that stand out in Divock Origi for coming in off the bench and securing the game again. Let's just take a moment. Who's someone that stands out to you that maybe we haven't mentioned yet? And we'll run down the whole thing. We'll start with Alex, run down the line, and you tell me someone that stands out as having a massive impact on this game. Go ahead, Alex.
I'm going to have to say Squeaky Squeakerton. I know that Radar is also saying that, but no, I'm going to focus on Joel Matip because he has been just gargantuan back there with Virgil van Dijk. And I know Van Dijk gets all the plaudits, but without someone partnering him and playing as well as he has, we wouldn't have 2 clean sheets in the past 2 Champions League games. We wouldn't have such a strong defense. We wouldn't have a platform to be able to play the way we played and pull it off against Spurs how we wanted to play. So he's fantastic. He's been fantastic. And there has constantly been debate about who is better. And right now, while I love both of them, I'm feeling supremely confident in the fact that Joel Matip has earned his place in the center back hierarchy with his performance today and his performance in the second half of this season.
Now, when you say today, we are recording this episode a few days after the match.
I'm living in the moment.
What did Matip do today?
He took some great photos. He's probably immensely hungover. But I'm constantly living in the 10 minutes after the game. I don't want it to end. I don't know what life's going to be like after that, but it's not going to go away anytime soon.
It was really funny. I feel like none of us where Will, Zach, and I were watching really knew how to react at the end of the match. Like, we all kind of stood up and like fist bumped and we're like, yeah! And then we just kind of stood there like, oh my God, it's real. We've actually won it. What do we do now, you know? Oh, it was so interesting. All right. What's another key player that you noticed, Andrew, that you want to need to give props to?
I don't know. I mean, that's a tough one. It's not like every single player like stood out really. There wasn't like other than that back line. So Andy and Trent, Verge and Matip and Alisson, like no one had like an incredible game. Origi came out, scored the goal. Fabinho, was great at controlling the ball. Genie was everywhere. Henderson was everywhere. But there's not another player I just want to call out and be like, yeah, they had an amazing game.
Do you want to go ahead and name like the other
Everyone?
guys
Okay.
so that nobody else has anything to say?
No. Well, let me. Do you want me to go? Joe Gomez came in the 90th. Great game.
Great impact.
Game. James Milner came in the 62nd minute. He's my favorite player, so I'll talk about him. He was strong and he likes to run and he kicks the ball a lot. I know Jordan Henderson likes to run a lot, but James Milner also does.
Andrew, if Milner had scored that shot, like how high would you have jumped in celebration?
I probably would have fallen over the balcony. I was standing next to some stairs. I was extremely drunk. I think I blacked out later that day. I have some trouble remembering the match, and I haven't been able to go back and watch it. So maybe that's why I didn't think anyone really stood out.
Now that we've really looked at all the mitigating circumstances.
Yeah, thanks for the therapy, guys.
What else is a podcast for, Yeah, I mean, we haven't talked a huge amount about the front, like the top three guys in particular. I feel like there wasn't maybe a huge amount to talk about there, but anyway, we'll keep moving on. Will, you got anyone that you want to shout out?
I will talk about the top three guys, and the number one guy in the top three guys, in my opinion, is Sadio Mane, who is such a constant threat that he draws two defenders always and sets up a lot of stuff. But there was one dribble he did, I want to say it was in it was before the second goal, I believe, maybe in like the late, like post 75th minute or so. He's dribbled through like 4 Tottenham players. He's so freaking good. And maybe he didn't have as much of an impact other than getting the penalty. But he is one of the main reasons that we're here and even having this conversation. He called us the sexy club. He is the sexy Mane.
I do think he was the best out of the three.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. That happens more often than not, I think.
I don't fully agree with you, but
that's okay.
But yeah, I think he was. I mean, in this match, he was definitely the best. And I think until Origi came in, I think Origi played a very well-rounded game, not just the goal. I think he brought something in that we needed at the time. All right, Zach, take us home. Who you got?
Man, I'm like looking at my list of options.
You can reiterate someone else if there's no one else to talk about. I mean, Andrew did take half the team, so
yeah, you can cover whoever you want because I didn't have anything special to say.
I mean, I really do think that it's worth another mention because he was so good. Divock Origi, the living, breathing meme, who scored the winner against Barca and scored again in a Champions League final. Like, when he came on, did we all just know deep down that he was probably going to score? I mean, because I certainly had the thought. It's just, it feels right. It has to happen. And it's put us all in this really weird position where Divock Origi scores in huge matches and wins on the largest stage imaginable, but we still don't know if he's actually any good. Right. I don't think there are any rules for assessing Divock Origi moving forward as a player. Like, on many huge occasions, he has gotten the job done. He's built a case for himself as the superest of super subs. And maybe this is more, stuff for our, sell or keep episode. But he's made it really interesting for us to decide where he fits in the squad as a potential backup super sub option at forward. Because if he's going to be a clinical poacher in front of goal, which he seems to be, then that might be exactly what we need. But you got to love the storyline there, the fact that he has salvaged a career. Whether or not this means he will be an important player in our squad moving forward, if that doesn't happen, he's at least boosted his own value to the point that he will land somewhere where he has a good chance of being successful. He's brought his own career back from the brink, and that's just a fun story. And I'm happy that Liverpool has been the beneficiary of that narrative. So I'm real happy for him. I'm real pleased. I'm real pleased with the Divock narrative there.
Yeah, we've said for a while that it's like, oh, well, we really need cover for Bobby. It's one of our biggest things that we really need. And then all of a sudden, the second half of the season happens, and Divock's like, oh, you know what? Maybe I could actually fill that role a little bit. Like, oh, maybe I can be that type of role player. It makes me think of, being the basketball nerd who loves to make other sports references in the middle of a soccer podcast. But it makes me think of the player Robert Horry, who won 7 NBA titles with 3 different teams, and at no point in his career ever scored more than like 12 points a game in one season. But like, he was constantly hitting massive clutch 3-pointers in like NBA final games and became known as like Big Shot Bob because he was constantly hitting through. That's kind of what it reminds me of. Like, Divock, was Robert Horry a good basketball player? Well, I mean, he won a lot of titles with teams, but not really. And like Divock, is he really a good, a good striker? Maybe not, but he's playing that role perfectly. He's playing that role absolutely perfectly right now. So that's what
whenever you think like back up on this season, like years to come, 10 years down the line, you're thinking about the season, the moments that you think of are like all Divock Origi.
That's true. It's so true. It's so true.
Insane.
Every single one of them. It's so weird, but that's what he's done. I think you're right, Zach. He embraced the role that he was given finally, and maybe that was the key for him. I mean, it was just a few seasons ago. He's out on loan, getting put on these like media lists of like the worst players in Europe right now. Worst teams of the season, and I think maybe he just did. He just needed a clear-cut role, and just not to be the starter, but to be the clutch impact sub backup striker. Maybe so.
Like, we were okay with sending him to Huddersfield. A lot has been made that earlier in the season, in the summer, he was very close to getting loaned to Huddersfield, and it fell through, and we kept him, and he buckled down and earned his role in the team. And Zach, I disagree. I don't think there's any choice. Like, there's no way he's not getting a lifetime contract.
He's a folk hero now.
Yeah.
He just is. All right.
I think we have to build him a statue somewhere.
It's just a statue of the quick corner from Trent to Divock against Barcelona. That's the statue we need. You got Trent just quickly going there, and you got Divock like suddenly noticing the ball at his feet and going, oh, and scoring it. That's the statue we need.
Or it's a statue of him celebrating really badly.
Yeah, I'd like to know how many people in Liverpool and around the world now have to get Divock Origi tattoos, like just from bets that they've made throughout the year, or like, if Divock Origi scores this goal, I'll get a tattoo, and he always does. He always scores.
Yeah,
he always makes that goal. How many people? I feel like Zach's probably got to get 3. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was.
I'm gonna get the picture of me and Divock from St. Louis tattooed across my neck.
There you
The
go.
selfie.
Oh, he was such an adorable little child at that point in time. It was so funny. Yeah, wasn't it it was the Newcastle match. When the Newcastle match was happening, I had friends that were like staying at my house that weekend, and like they're packing up, getting ready to go. I have the game on. And they're just like, oh, the game's not going too well, huh? I was like, nah, not right now. And then we made the sub, and I went, never mind, guys, we're good. Like, because it was just funny to me. I was like, Divock's gonna do his thing again. It's just what we come to expect. So he, sealed a Champions League victory as well. Good for him. Good for him. All right. If we look back on the season, as Andrew mentioned, it's going to be the season of Divock. This was the year of Divock, is all this was. When we look back on this season, it was not long ago we were looking at it and thinking, man, this was absolutely way too good of a year to have and walk away with no trophies at all. But that's what it was looking like. Then comes the amazing comeback. Then comes this, clinical match against Tottenham. Suddenly, the entire perspective on the season has changed. I'm going to get all of your individual thoughts again. We'll run down the line, but let's talk about how significant was this finish to the year? How significant is it to raise that 6th trophy? How significant was this season? Alex, I'll start with you.
It could be one of the most important seasons in the history of this club. We got the monkey off our back of not being able to win in finals. The team and the coach and the fan base, there's no more worry. There's a huge sense of confidence around everything we do now. And now we know we can win stuff. Now we know we can beat anyone. Now we know we're the best team in Europe. And it's telling that all analysis of this victory is saying it's the start of a dynasty. It's not the culmination of work. It's the beginning of something even better that's coming. And I think that's completely true. We've got such a unique vibe around the club. Like, no one else has this. No one else would have those scenes that we saw in the parade, especially not Man City, as you look at the crowds based in the parade. So there's something immensely special about what's happening right now. And to win this trophy it's exactly what this club needed, exactly what everyone in this team needed. And there had been talk of it being a consolation prize for not getting the league, but I know I've said that the Champions League and the league are equal, and this is just as big as winning the league. This is the biggest trophy in Europe. This is one of the biggest trophies in the world. And to say that we won it, and to actually have won it, not just say it like a weird liar, and to win it in the manner that we won it is just, it's everything. It's absolutely everything. The marketing says this means more, and you could see it after the game. For these next few days, it absolutely does mean more.
It does. SEC. SEC.
Hey, did y'all see, we won a huge trophy, and then our players immediately began singing like really mean-spirited songs about the team we beat? Oh, wait.
My favorite thing about us, my favorite thing about us winning the Champions League is that we won the damn Champions League. But my second favorite thing is all of the City and Everton fans just complaining about every little thing that they can. Like, you wouldn't catch my club. I wouldn't be proud of my club finishing 4th and then, entering a tournament and winning. I wouldn't. Oxlade-Chamberlain should throw away his medal because he barely played. Like, shut the hell up. I'm sorry. Like, I love, inject it into my veins. Like, I love it. I love it. I love it. Shut up, but also suck it to everybody that ever doubted this team.
To play the contrarian to Alex there too, I think like you look at our points total in the league, like any respectable soccer player like looks at this team and says like, even if they don't win the league, they're still on the up and up. Like, it's still 2 Champions Leagues in a row. It's the 3rd best Premier League season of all time. Like, this team isn't just some other team that had a good year. Like, it's constantly been a rise for the last, we had a dip after Rodgers left for a second there, but I don't even think it was a dip in points. It was a dip in maybe some of our play, but there was like, you felt that enthusiasm the whole time. Even that, Newcastle 2-2, Klopp goes out and rises arms with the players and everyone thanks the fans. Like, yeah, it's corny, but like, you had enthusiasm that this team all wanted to be here and they wanted to be great. And you saw last summer, even before this, we had the best players that were available wanting to join our team.
I can only imagine like how many more people, how many more players.
I can only imagine. Sorry, it's instinctual.
Yeah, Zach's muted. Zach does not get to give his input as to how monumental this season is. Sorry, man. You should have known.
Come on.
Okay, all right, fine. In the spirit of having won 6 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
The best GIF of all time.
Oh my gosh, the Jurgen counting GIF is it's gonna be. I'm gonna send it to you guys every day for the rest of my life. So like a year from now. All right, Zach, ride us out then. Tell us what you think.
It's been so long. What's the question?
Was the season any good, Zach? That's the question. Did you like this year?
The season was good. I think for a while, like years, I've been saying that the league matters more than the Champions League because of how long it's been since we've won a league, and considering that we are already the most decorated English club in Europe. Yeah. But I also think that is one of those statements that makes a whole lot of sense in August and a lot less sense in June.
Yep.
Because we're able to have this immense satisfaction in knowing that, like, yeah, Man City just won the league, but they sat at home and watched us win the trophy that continues to elude their grasp. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, they can talk as much as they want about winning the league, but they know that we got the top prize. And I don't think there's anyone who would doubt the fact that Liverpool was the best team in Europe this season. We got it done. We proved the doubters wrong. It does feel like the beginning of something. And I think I can now look back on the statements I made about saying that the league would matter more, and I can say I am perfectly happy with the way things turned out. It feels right.
I mean, winning cures so much.
It does.
And if we were sitting here and like Barca had eliminated us, right, we might be saying, oh, well, yeah, I mean, this was kind of a failure of a season because we should have gotten something and we just didn't, and blah, blah, blah. But winning cures almost everything. And at the end of the day, yeah, we just won the top prize in all of Europe. And we've won it a lot of times throughout history. And we're
how many times?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh, right. Sorry, I forgot.
And we are not just a up and coming dynasty, but we are a European dynasty at this point, with some of the most memorable European championships ever. Go back to Istanbul. Look at the comeback against Barcelona. I mean, these are storybook moments that the team is getting to live out in front of us as fans, and we get to lose a few years of our life watching them. But at the end of that run, we're hoisting a trophy, and that's significant. It's so good. It's so good.
I mean, it goes back to what you were saying earlier. Like, you didn't really know what to do when it happened. I think that's such a big step for the club as well. Like, I'm sure we've all thought about what that moment would be like, but when it actually happened, you couldn't really do anything except like tear up and have this big dumb grin on your face. And so, I mean, it's been 14 years since we've been able to do that. I mean, yeah, we have an FA Cup and a League Cup in that time, but this is big boy stuff now, and we've got one again, and it's time to keep winning more. I can tell that was a great point because everyone looks so enthusiastic.
Yeah, we're all checking our phones and stuff.
Yeah, we're all just distracted by the Greg
that's what I was
GIF.
actually watching, the Popovich GIF.
Yeah, the Greg Popovich.
My favorite thing is that I got a Instagram message from a guy. I think he's probably like in his mid-20s now, but I taught him history as a high school sophomore. And he sent me a screenshot of a conversation he was having with another guy I taught in my class. And it just said, "Oh my God, Liverpool just won the Champions League." And then the next message says, "Osborne is pissing his pants right now." And I was just so happy that these two guys that I taught in class like 7 years ago remembered that this would be one of the greatest moments of my life.
Yep. I went to a concert downtown afterwards, and I'm wearing my old Steven Gerrard kit from years ago with the the Justice for the 96 patch on there as well, all that sort of stuff. I'm wearing that, and there actually were a couple of guys in Tottenham jerseys that I saw at the concert, and they just kept like putting their heads down and refusing to make eye contact with me. One guy had to walk by me to like go to the bar and get a drink, and I just heard him mumbling under his breath how he just didn't want to, just hoping and praying I wouldn't say something to him as he walked past. It was great. So I punched him and stole his money.
And you've earned that right.
Yeah. No one could blame me. No one could blame me at all.
In the name of Divock, I punch you in your stupid face.
His face was pretty stupid.
I like that Divock always seems like he wants to go grab the ball from the goalie and run it back to the half, even when we don't need to score again. It's like he never quite knows whether we need to score again immediately or whether the game is now secure. He's always looking around like, what type of celebration is this?
Yeah. Somebody tell me, we good? We okay? I mean,
well, he's used to us not being able to defend, so it's like we're gonna have to just keep scoring.
Just keep scoring. Don't you know somewhere in Leicester, Brendan Rodgers is thinking, I did this. This is me.
There's not a doubt in my mind.
This is me.
That moron is taking some credit.
What character?
Steady, lads.
He's probably just rolling around to Klopp's house and sees his landlord and be like,
Yeah.
Hey, Jurgen, how's that team I left you treating you?
Mm-hmm.
Wait. Can we back up a half step here? Brendan Rodgers is Jurgen Klopp's landlord?
Yeah, Klopp lived
Yeah.
at Rodgers' old house.
Yep.
And so he's
Klopp
probably kind of like
settle.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's the one thing that like makes me worried about Klopp. I'm like, well, why won't he just buy a house? Like, why does he have to live in Brendan Rodgers' house? I don't know.
It's not a great housing market in Liverpool, Andrew.
Maybe it's just covered in Liverpool stuff.
Right. It was already furnished in like red stuff, red furniture and everything. He was like, well.
It had that big picture of Brendan on the wall. Why would you not live there with that photo?
Exactly.
Did you guys see the tweet that was like, can y'all imagine if Liverpool had not sold Sterling to City? They'd have the front three of Salah, Firmino, and Mane.
That's good. That's good. I like that.
I like it.
I like it a lot. I think that's a great note to wrap up this episode on, guys.
Mhm.
I think that is exactly where we need to end this episode. Coming up very soon, I guess our next episode is going to be our annual Keep or Sell episode, where we just run down the entire roster, even the players that we don't really know anything about, and try to discuss whether we think we should keep or sell them, or I guess loan, but that just is another word to add in there. It doesn't flow as well. So, we've got that coming up. We've got some transfer market rumors and I don't know, a lot of off-season stuff to talk about very, very soon. Obviously, the preseason tour coming up as well. Are any of us going to actually try to make it to one of the American games that the team is coming in to play? Anyone?
I mean, I'm still trying.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
I will be unable.
Yeah, I'm not able either.
I haven't decided yet. We'll see if anyone can talk me into it.
Zach, you should come.
I may be driving to Boston.
That sounds miserable.
That's like the worst.
Like you would not enjoy that trip.
But I mean, if we go, it's
Well, look, there
like,
are
that's
people.
the one.
There are people I want to see in Nashville, so maybe I could make it make sense to go
Who do you
see.
know in Nashville?
Well, no one
I can think of someone.
here, but
Wow. Okay. It's 8:46.
What about you?
All right, this has been You'll Never Talk Alone, the greatest episode we've ever produced. One more time, everyone, all at once, hit me with that Champions League theme song.
I ruined that with trying to do the intro. My bad.
Beep.